Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. We're taking another look here again at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on. We did break through this tentative resistance here, this more local high at 58,600 or 58.7. When we look at this local price action too, we can see we have our local point of control at about 59.5 and the upper control there about 60,600. But more importantly, we zoom in here the local, last, what is it? I think it's like a week and a half worth of trading. We can see the current resistance level at 59.5 holding pretty strong there where the price action jumped up there and then pulled back. So ultimately, at this point, it is breaking tentatively bullish, but we want to kind of confirm a few things before we kind of just jump into a long position, because Bitcoin has been the master at faking people out, switching gears to a long, and then essentially just wiping your face with the floor, right? So it's not a good thing to be a late long here, and that's kind of where it's at right now for the moment. Doesn't mean it's wrong to consider a long. It just implies we want to be thorough and double check a few things. So let's take a quick look and see if we should close our short at break even and or consider switching gears here, because we did short with an average position of what, 58,850, 58.9, somewhere in there. So we're pretty much right at break even. The question I'm getting a lot, of course, is, hey, do we close that, open along? What are we looking at here? Well, we got some liquidation between 60,000 and 60,700. So that area of liquidation could be incentive to push the price action higher. Again, it's not a massive amount, but it is still liquidation nonetheless, right? So we kind of averaged out. There's probably somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 billion between 60 to 60,700, which is that local, again, resistance range. But again, a resistance range is only such until it's tested and or broken. So I do think there's a solid chance we could see that swept, and if so, that would obviously invalidate the continuation. But the other thing that would also invalidate a potential for the price to pull back is two things here. If the price comes down to bounce off this level at 58.7 and continues higher up, obviously that would be step number one. Step two is if the price were to just continue moving up here and then pivot off of that local point of control at 59.5, either one of those two things would happen. So again, usually the point of control and or local high are two areas of support. In this case, since we've broken through it, but we're kind of sandwiched between as a potential resistance above us, right? So we just kind of got to think we may be range bound here until it breaks one way or the other. All right. Again, just some potential scenarios here. Let's go ahead and look at the daily time frame and kind of get some extra understanding, because when we look at the macro, again, there's nothing bullish about Bitcoin right now in the macro, because again, we're under all moving averages. We're still under 50 on the RSI. MACD is trying to converge, but it's like really weak, so there's not a lot of momentum, leading me to believe that this is not really this is kind of like a false breakout. If we do look at the volume too, there's not a ton of volume here so far today. I wouldn't expect a lot on a Friday, but generally speaking, we need more volume to be able to sustain the price going higher. Because again, we generally have that resistance range at 60,000. That's just kind of a common area of support or resistance. While it hasn't been proven to be very, very substantial, it's still a solid round number that most people gravitate towards. So a lot of times you'll see a lot more buying pressure at that level. And again, you look here, local point of control, it's at 60,700, and the current one here is right about 59,500. So we're really close to that resistance range, okay? Now, we do take a look at the 4 hour, we can see that the moving averages, the 50 and the 20, as I mentioned earlier, are holding the price action in place. Correction, that's the 50 and the 100. The 20-day SMA, we're tentatively above, but it looks like we're going to potentially break below. So again, a lot of fake outs. The price shoots up, comes back down. At this point here, this is a low volume pump, so I'm not really super impressed by it. In other words, when there's low volume, there's less sustainability. Okay, so I'm still leaning on the side of the price action pulling back, but we do want to recognize that we broke tentatively above 50 on the RSI here, and with the MACD, or more importantly, the stochastic RSI swinging up, there's a little bit of momentum, but it's pretty obvious that the momentum is just based off that one candle, not necessarily this overall run here, because it's been slowly etching up, and we're tentatively rejecting out here. We can see, once again, 59,600 as that round number for resistance, because on the 4 hour time frame we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 candles now so far that has yet to close above that level. Okay, so without more volume, we're going to have the price action probably stay where it's at or go lower. We do see MACD, we're converging, so that's generally favorable, but again, I don't trust a convergence on a low volume pump like this. And when we're kind of just trending really close to 50 on the RSI, I'm not super sold this is going to be able to break waves here. Okay, but we do want to be open and straightforward here about the hourly time frame, and just kind of recognize that we are tentatively above the Ichimoku cloud, the upper lead, with lag and span free and clear on the conversion line over the baseline. That's exactly a 180 from this morning. This morning we were at low 58,000 range, about ready to break bearish. Didn't even test this descending trend line. Now we've broken through and essentially shifted gears. So this in itself here, if you look at the hourly alone, that does show that Bitcoin's back on track, right? But again, the volume that's tapering off doesn't lead me to believe that this is sustainable. So I feel like this is kind of a fake pump here personally, but again, different scenarios exist at all times, and we got to kind of look at everything. So this could be the beginning of a cup and handle, right? This is a very ugly cup, but you can see the price action pulling up like this. And if it does come up to retest that 69.5, 69.7 range, or 59.7, 59.5 range, then we may likely see the price break through 60K. All right, so again, what we're hoping for here, at least from a bearish perspective, is for the price to essentially continue lower, to break back below, and to not close above the local point of control. So again, just to clarify, the local point of control here is this 59,600 mark. So we close below that level, we should be in good shape to see the price stay below that level, but closing above 59.6 would show some strength and essentially confirm that we're probably needing to maybe consider closing our short and opening a long, right? That's generally how it works. And if that ever happens to you folks and you're in a situation where you see your current trade in the red and you're not sure what to do, sometimes the best course of action is to close it. I mean, right now you could literally close the trade at just about break even, okay? So it's no harm, no foul. Worst case scenario, you find a better opportunity later, okay? And that's just kind of how it works sometimes. But for the most part, we don't see these things happen too often, but right now we're looking for invalidation, which would be a closure at about 59.6, 59.5 or higher. That should confirm the price is more likely to continue higher up. But we got to give it time too, because literally we are only about 1 or 2 hours into being above the upper lead on the cloud. And generally when you see that, you want to wait 3 to 4 hours minimum before you get confirmation. And I've always taught that in my videos. Specifically, if you watch my Ichimoku Cloud video, you'll know that is essentially a real thing. So false breakout like this here so far is exactly that until it confirms itself. And we need a few more hours to confirm. Literally in 2 hours when the candlestick closure occurs for the daily, that's probably when we're going to know the most. Okay, so I just wait and be patient, kind of see where we go from there. If you're concerned or worried, just adjust your stop loss to break even and ensure that you walk away with no loss instead of a larger one, right? It just depends on how you are, but at this point, still a little premature to consider a long position in my personal opinion. I think we're not quite there yet. I hope this made sense and I described this correctly. Thank you again so much for watching. Obviously, if you are part of our community, again, CryptoCache.tech is a site linked down below. Welcome back to a lot of new members. Also, congrats on our recent profit from Bitcoin, good 46%. That was a short, by the way, from 60 to 56K. And then what SUI, short at 38%. Again, just we've been playing the field both ways. Honestly, we've been taking longs and shorts, but generally speaking, you're going to find more benefit going to the downside right now just because the overall trend is still down. So just to clarify, I didn't touch on this, we still have a macro trend line that we haven't broken. So even if the price does pump up to just say 60,000 or whatever, we have to be able to break this descending trend line before we have any confirmation. And that comes in the form of Bitcoin being at 61,000 or higher at the very least, okay, because there's a lot of moving averages there. All right, anyways, just some friendly advice there. Be careful, buying this little pump here and thinking it's we're back on track because it's still a little premature. That's all. All right, thanks again. We'll see you all in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.